If Oliva completely releases his muscles, how terrifying will it be? Oliva has been trying his best to suppress his muscles from expanding. If he relaxes one day, his muscles will expand instantly, crushing all the prisoners present, or even destroying the entire prison, and finally rushing into the sky. Just now, Oliva punched Kaibel and made him mentally separated, so no one dared to question the strength of the prison king. But the next day, when the prison guard was checking the room, he found that Kaibel had disappeared. There were no witnesses. Only a letter and a banknote belonging to his country. It seemed that he was going to challenge Oliva again. At the same time, on a small island, a familiar figure was cutting down trees. And he was Mr. Kaibel. After leaving the prison, returned to his usual stupid look. On the other side, the prison guard was still lecturing the prisoners as usual. Maybe he had been in prison for a long time, so Renoa decided to do something. He called the prison guard and told him that he wanted to go out for some fresh air. After hearing Renier's words, the prison guards were dumbfounded and even thought that there was something wrong with their ears. But the next second, Renier kicked him into sleep. Then Renier easily solved the guards with a hitchhiking ride. The prisoners who saw this scene began to cheer for Renier. If Renier can't create a miracle, then he can only be a corpse when he comes back. The prison alarm sounded instantly, and all the prison guards were ready for battle at the first time. However, in Renier's world, guns are the most useless weapons. Renier easily dodged the bullets with his flexible movement, and then he kicked the iron door to pieces and then moved. Instantly, after easily solving the 3 prison guards, Renier took out the keys from their bodies and ran out of the prison gate in one breath. However, what greeted him was the black muzzle of the gun, but Renier looked calm. He slowly came to the warden and said that he wanted to be the 3rd man in the prison who could not be locked up. Hearing this, the warden immediately ordered the prison guards to surround Renoa. However, just when he thought he had won, his sunglasses suddenly broke and split in the next second. Seeing the warden's confused face, Renier smiled slightly and said, "In my space, I not only broke your sunglasses, but also took off the buttons of the 6 of them. Guns can't hurt him at all. In other words, it can also attack anyone's vital points, which may be a kick, a throat, or even a piercing. In any case, at least 2 of the 6 of you will die." After hearing Renier's words, the warden was already scared and sweating. But then Renier made a bolder decision. He wanted the warden to send him out of the prison personally. This way, Renier successfully escaped from prison and became the 3rd man in the prison who could not be locked up. But who would have thought that Renier, who had just walked out of the prison, stretched out his hands and asked the warden to catch him. Back, faced with such an unreasonable request, the warden was naturally very happy. But just when Renier was handcuffed, the prison gate suddenly opened. Oliva was riding a limited edition Harley and was about to go out for fun, but Renier's behavior had clearly challenged Oliva's status. Oliva was instantly enraged and immediately decided to teach this ignorant kid a lesson. "You are okay," I said. "It's okay." But just when the prison guard was about to remove the handcuffs from Renier, Renier said, "I would do it myself." Then he easily broke free from the restraints. Then Renier shouted at Oliva. Oliva was so angry that he was about to explode with just one sentence, but he still suppressed the anger in his heart. However, Oliva's fake smile was seen through by Renoa at a glance. As the 1st man in the prison who could not be locked up, he now had to escape the challenge of the new generation. It was really a sacrifice. No wonder you have been suppressing your anger just to protect your pitiful self-esteem. After that, Renier left without looking back. And before leaving, he did not forget to mock Oliva, saying that he was not free, and you knew it in your heart. After Renier left, Oliva stood there as if he had been splashed with cold water. Seeing this, the prison guards wanted to leave quickly on the pretext of pushing the cart, but Oliva said that he would do it himself. Asterisk, what should I do if someone pours urine on your head? Renier, who was humiliated a second ago, suddenly burst into laughter at this moment. This is just as he said. The freest man on the surface of the earth would only bully a powerless person in this way. The harsh laughter spread throughout the prison. After being mocked by Renier Oliva, who returned to the room, looked at the delicacies in front of him and had no appetite. Even the 1982 red wine was like cold water stuck in his teeth. He didn't know how to vent his emotions and just wanted to smash everything. On the other side, Renoa felt very satisfied even if he just drank water. Soon, Oliva found the warden. He wanted to use the duel with Renoa to broadcast it live worldwide, which would not only make a lot of money, but also show his strong strength. But when Oliva returned to his room at night, he was like a deflated ball. Maria used to be as beautiful as a fairy. Even when she walked on the street, she would attract countless eyes. But later, due to illness and hormone drugs, she became what she is now. However, even though she lost her proud beauty, she was still as proud as before and was not restrained at all. And this is exactly what Oliva lacks. She cares too much. About her reputation, seeing Oliva's inner stubbornness, the cellmates also comforted her. Soon, Oliva found Renoa again. But when he said that he would duel with Renoa, live worldwide in 2 weeks, he was ridiculed by Renoa. He just wanted to have a serious fight with the other party, the kind that can be played anytime and anywhere. Before he finished speaking, Renoa kicked Oliva in the face fiercely. But before Oliva could react, Renoa kicked Oliva's vital points 3 times in a row. After being kicked by Renoa, Oliva's fighting spirit was instantly ignited. Facing Renoa's attack again, he slapped Renoa to the next door with a slap, which scared the inmates beside him. However, this was just the beginning. Oliva raised his hands high, and the next second, the 5 grains torrent reappeared. In this case, Renoa decided not to hold back. He dislocated his shoulders and then put his arms in front of him. The next step was to remove the thumb buckle. Renoa clamped his body tightly with his arms, controlling the blood circulation in his arms to block the blood flow in the arteries. It was the same as athletes holding a water bottle under their armpits to stop bleeding when they were injured. Renoa's latissimus dorsi muscles were extremely developed, and he didn't need to add anything to stop bleeding. In this way, the fingers lacking blood circulation will gradually become thinner. Renoa, who was freed from the restraints, began to move his joints. At this moment, the battle between the 2 men really began. Renoa took the lead in attacking. He aimed at Oliva's abdomen and punched hard, but Oliva grabbed him. Taking advantage of Renoa's daze, Oliva took a deep breath and pulled Renoa from the other side of the wall. Then Oliva grabbed Renoa's ankles and arms, and then swung Renoa around like shaking a towel, and finally threw him into the air. Hugged Renoa and crashed through the walls of 3 cells. But Oliva did not intend to stop there. He grabbed Renoa's wrist and then slammed him against the iron door, and then punched Renoa in the cell door with a fierce punch. Renoa, who suffered such a heavy blow, fell from the air and fell heavily to the ground. Seeing this, Oliva flipped over and jumped off the guardrail. Renoa, who had just stood up, kicked at Oliva again, but was easily caught by Oliva. Seeing this, Renoa began to attack Oliva frantically with his other foot, but this level of attack could not hurt Oliva at all. Oliva had had enough fun at this time, and he decided to let Renoa see what real strength is. Oliva grabbed Renoa and slammed him to the ground. With just one blow, a big hole was smashed out of the cement ground. Renoa, who fell to the ground, began to become blurry for a while, but this also made his ghost brain gradually awaken. At this moment, Renoa's head actually emitted a dazzling light. The next second, his entire face began to melt, and then his whole body seemed to have changed into a soft and silky water. When he gradually filled the ground, Renoa suddenly bounced up from the ground. The prison guards who saw this scene were stunned, because the ground where Renoa had just lay was left with a back mark that looked like a ghost face. Unbelievably, Renoa actually awakened both Ghost Brain and Ghost Back at the same time. Feeling the huge change in Renoa, even Oliva couldn't help but shed a cold sweat. However, just when he tensed his muscles to attack Renoa, Renoa made a move the next second. With just one punch, Oliva, who weighed more than 200 kilograms, was knocked to the ground. And the speed was so fast that even the naked eye could not see it clearly. Only through the playback of the monitoring can we see that Renoa knocked Oliva unconscious with one punch at 0.2 seconds. After getting up, Oliva couldn't help but admire the power of Renoa's blow. He knew that there would be a delay of 0.5 seconds between the brain's instructions to the body. And to learn this amazing ability, one must go through the trials of life and death and maintain a high degree of vigilance in daily life. Although Ren, Ya, Yu have mastered this amazing skill, but I, Oliva, don't need it. Then, Oliva raised his arms high and opened his ultimate defense. After Baki's ghost brain awakened, his ghost arms also opened one after another. At this time, Baki's speed has exceeded the limit of human reaction. In just 0.2 seconds, Baki knocked Oliva unconscious with one punch. Oliva, who couldn't even avoid Baki's attack, decided to use his special skills. He shrunk his body into a huge sphere, and his whole body was firmly protected by joints, without any gaps. Facing Oliva in this state, no matter how fast Baki was, it was useless at this moment. Baki tried to use a jump kick, but he was bounced back to the original place. On the other hand, Oliva didn't move at all. It turned out that after continuous training, Oliva could control every muscle in his body at will. So, at the moment when Baki's attack came, the muscles would involuntarily swell and counterattack. In order to break Oliva's absolute defense, Baki decided to use the rigid body technique in judo. When the human body hits a hard object, the joints of the body will be like shock absorbers. If the joints can be made hard, then the human body will exert a terrifying power like an iron ball. Baki punched Oliva hard, but it was like hitting a thick steel plate. While Baki was stunned, Oliva suddenly grabbed Baki's wrist, then opened his bloody mouth like a beast and swallowed Baki alive. Baki kept struggling to wave his arms, but Oliva ruthlessly stuffed them back. When Baki was spit out, he was lying on the ground and couldn't move. Seeing this, Oliva also lifted his ultimate defense. Looking at Baki, who was motionless in front of him, Oliva began to talk nonsense, saying that he could save his life as long as Baki admitted defeat. But who knew that Baki not only didn't appreciate it, but also mocked Oliva for being old and confused. Asterisk, seeing that the other party was not willing to listen. Oliva was about to step on Baki to death. He kicked Baki into the air with a kick, and then planned to repeat the trick and swallow Baki again with his special skill. However, Baki had already thought of a way to crack the same move. Baki inserted his finger into Oliva's nostril, fiercely. Oliva felt the pain and slapped Baki away with a backhand. However, he was not much better. The hot nosebleed could not stop flowing out. Oliva was completely enraged, but he did not expect Baki to say lightly. Asterisk, hearing Baki's proposal, Oliva also showed an excited expression, because he did not think he would lose to a kid who was 100 kilograms lighter than him. But at this moment, a voice came, and the boxing champion Tyson shouted loudly to Baki, "Have you ever thought about why there are 17 weight classes in boxing? You and him are 100 kilograms different in weight, which is simply seeking death." But even so, Baki decided to give it a try. Asterisk, at this moment, no one could stop the two from fighting. The ultimate contest between Oliva, the strongest man in the United States, and Baki, the strongest high school student on the surface, the two punched each other in the face. The powerful force made both of them lean back, but they did not retreat at all. The battle was so fierce that even the vultures were preparing to eat on the wall outside. At this moment, Baki had only one belief, which was to defeat Oliva without using any skills, relying solely on physical strength and brute force. Under Baki's violent attack, the strongest fighter in the United States was beaten back step by step. At this time, the prison guards took off their hats and paid the highest tribute to the two fighters. Oliva roared unwillingly and launched the final counterattack. But how could Baki, the son of the devil, give up so easily? He tightened his abdomen and slammed into Oliva. In the end, Baki broke through this indestructible defense and saw the outside world. When the indomitable Baki woke up again, there was no Oliva in front of him. Looking up, there was only a majestic high wall, and he himself was just a frog in the well. Oliva is definitely the most affectionate man in the anime Baki. When Oliva's girlfriend first appeared, everyone might think that this black fat man had a problem with his aesthetics. But Oliva had an unspeakable pain in his heart. Maria used to be as beautiful as a fairy. and even walking on the street would attract countless people's attention. But later, a disease destroyed everything of this woman. Due to hormone drugs, she lost her proud beauty and became a woman who could not be described as fat. This also made Oliva very self-blame. Why didn't he protect her at that time? In the subsequent meetings, Maria continued to humiliate Oliva every time. Asterisk, however, facing his girlfriend's unreasonable troubles. This man who could kill a tiger with his bare hands was not angry at all, but tried his best to make her happy every day. Just before Oliva and Baki's decisive battle, he came to find his girlfriend to complain. Oliva has always been under great pressure to defend his most free position, but his girlfriend can still maintain her nobility and confidence in the face of the blow of losing her beauty, which is exactly what Oliva lacks. He cares too much about his reputation and is too afraid of losing everything he has now. When the final battle between Oliva and Baki entered the most critical moment, the rose in Maria's room suddenly fell. At this moment, she seemed to feel that Oliva was in danger. In the end, Oliva was defeated by Baki and fell to the ground. Just when he was about to lose consciousness, Oliva felt a familiar breath. Unexpectedly, Maria ran all the way here, panting. Oliva's face was full of disbelief. At this moment, the victory or defeat was no longer important to Oliva. Asterisk, I have to say that Oliva's boyfriend is really considerate. The next day, Oliva he gathered all the prisoners in the square and announced that he had lost to Baki. At this moment, he was no longer the strongest man in the prison. But in order to maintain his position, Oliva made a shameless suggestion, that is, to let Baki leave the prison. Then, Oliva turned around and told the warden to deal with it. Baki must go home today. The warden wanted to refuse, but Oliva showed his big white teeth and said shamelessly. In this way, Baki rode a bicycle and left the prison under the escort of a helicopter. Although he was very speechless in his heart, Baki's challenge had just begun. Soon, the news that Baki defeated Oliva reached his father Yujiro's ears. It seems that Baki's strength has indeed improved greatly. First, he used the ghost brain to defeat a mantis weighing more than 100 kilograms, and now he defeated Oliva, the strongest fighter in the United States. The colonel believes that Baki has the strength to rival Yujiro. Then the two came to a huge specimen of a man-eating bear. The colonel asked Yujiro if Baki could defeat such a monster, but the answer he got was that Baki could do it in minutes. Then the colonel asked about a prehistoric saber-toothed tiger like this, and the answer he got was still that it would take no more than 2.5 minutes. Curiosity drove the colonel to continue asking, but Yujiro told him to shut up. The colonel was so scared that he quickly apologized and was about to run away on the grounds of urgent urination, but he couldn't help asking Yujiro, "Do you have a way to defeat this monster?" Yujiro was so angry that he turned into a